Hello everyone, welcome to TNO2 channel. Today, let's play Subway Surfer with me and listen to the story Treasure of Whispering Island. Please listen.
The salty breeze of the southern harbor carried the scent of fried fish, seaweed, and freshly tarred wood. Seagulls wheeled overhead, swooping for scraps as sailors shouted across the docks. Among the chaos stood Ethan, 20 years old, messy-haired, and perpetually balancing between wide-eyed curiosity and sarcastic wit. He leaned against a barrel of oranges, pretending to be nonchalant while scanning the marketplace with restless energy. Beside him, Salah, his best friend since childhood, stood with a notebook clutched to his chest. Salah had a neat mop of dark hair, round glasses perpetually sliding down his nose, and the air of someone who always had 3 backup plans, but still expected everything to go wrong. He frowned at Ethan. "You're staring again." "I'm not staring, I'm observing. A good treasure hunter observes." Salah sighed, tucking his notebook under his arm. "You mean you're daydreaming about things we can't afford? Again." "That depends on your definition of afford," he grinned. "Because if we find the treasure of the Whispering Isles, we can afford anything, maybe even matching hats." Salah rolled his eyes but couldn't suppress a smile. The Whispering Isles were a cluster of uninhabited islands far to the east, wrapped in myths. Sailors claimed that voices carried on the wind, guiding or deceiving those who listened. Some said the isles hid a vault of ancient knowledge. Others believed it was simply gold. "Remind me again," Salah said, "why we're risking our savings on a map drawn by Old Man Cormac, the same guy who thought seagulls were government spies?" "Because," Ethan said solemnly, "sometimes crazy old men know things. Besides, look at this." He pulled a rolled parchment from his satchel and unfurled it dramatically, nearly knocking over a basket of clams. The map was crude, drawn in shaky ink, but marked with mysterious runes and a dotted line leading to a crescent-shaped isle. Salah leaned closer, adjusting his glasses. "Half of this looks like coffee stains." "That's not coffee, that's authenticity," Ethan declared, puffing his chest. Before Salah could retort, a shout rang out across the harbor. A young deckhand waved from a small sailing vessel moored nearby. "Hey, you two, still want passage east? We leave at dawn." Ethan's grin widened. "Our ride awaits." The following morning, Ethan and Salah boarded the Seabreeze, a modest sloop with patched sails and a captain who introduced himself as Mara, a wiry woman with sunburnt skin, bright eyes, and the air of someone who had seen enough storms to know when to laugh at them. "You're paying me half now, half when we return, if we return." Salah gulped, but Ethan beamed. "Deal!" As the vessel cut across the waves, Ethan spent hours leaning over the bow, hair whipping in the wind, pretending he was the fearless hero of some epic tale. Salah, meanwhile, sat below deck scribbling notes, calculating rations, and occasionally muttering about how their adventure would statistically end in soggy socks and regret. 3 days into the voyage, the sea grew eerily calm. The air grew heavy, carrying whispers that seemed to slip just beneath hearing. Salah sat up sharply. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" Ethan tilted his head. Then his eyes widened. "Oh, that. Definitely that." The whispers wove like music, half words, half sighs, echoing from no discernible source. Mara crossed herself. "We've reached the border of the Isles. From here, it's all tricks and riddles. Keep your wits about you." Ethan elbowed Salah. "Hear that? Tricks and riddles. We're good at riddles." "You're good at guessing and being wrong," Salah muttered. The first sight of the Whispering Isles was breathtaking. Dozens of emerald green islands dotted the horizon, shrouded in mist. Waterfalls cascaded from sheer cliffs into turquoise seas, yet the air buzzed with an unsettling hum, like the islands themselves were alive. They anchored near the crescent-shaped isle from the map. Its beach glowed with pale sand, and twisted trees reached skyward, their leaves whispering in voices that weren't quite the wind. "Lovely," Salah murmured. "A haunted forest, just what I always wanted." Ethan leapt into the surf with theatrical flair. "Come on, Salah, adventure awaits." Salah followed reluctantly, shoes squelching. He kept glancing back at the Seabreeze, as if hoping it wouldn't sail away and leave them stranded. The jungle was alive with strange sights. Vines shimmered faintly, as though dusted with starlight. Birds with rainbow feathers sang in notes that sounded suspiciously like laughter. At one point, Ethan tried to mimic the song, only for the bird to mock him back so perfectly that Salah doubled over laughing. "I'm being heckled by wildlife. Rude!"
Hours passed as they hacked through undergrowth, following the dotted path on the map. Eventually, they stumbled into a clearing dominated by a massive stone archway. Carved runes spiraled along its edges, glowing faintly with pale light. At its center shimmered a translucent veil, like rippling water. Salah's eyes widened. A portal. Ethan touched the surface and ripples spread outward. Cool! A magic doorway! Or a trap, Salah countered. Or both, Ethan grinned, which means we're definitely going through. Before Salah could argue, Ethan stepped into the veil and vanished. Salah groaned, pinching the bridge of his nose. Why do I let him drag me into these things? Then he sighed and followed. They emerged into a vast cavern bathed in golden light. Stalactites glittered like chandeliers. At the far end stood a pedestal with a carved stone chest, vines coiled protectively around it. Ethan's jaw dropped. The treasure!
But as he bounded forward, the ground trembled. The vines unwound from the chest and slithered like serpents, weaving into the shape of a towering guardian made of roots and stone. Salah yelped and stumbled back. I know it! I told you they'd be traps! Ethan froze, then slowly raised his hands. Okay, new plan. Maybe we ask nicely? The guardian's glowing eyes fixed on them. Then, in a voice like rustling leaves, it spoke. Only those who answer may pass. Speak the truth or be turned away. Salah swallowed hard. A riddle! Ethan's grin returned. Finally, my specialty! The guardian's voice echoed. I am not alive, yet I grow. I do not breathe, yet I need air. I have no mouth, yet water kills me. What am I? Ethan tapped his chin. Not alive, but grows. Doesn't breathe, but needs air. No mouth, but water kills it. Easy! Fire! The guardian's eyes flared. The vines loosened, retracting back into the chest. With a deep rumble, the cavern grew still. You have answered, it intoned. You may proceed. Ethan pumped his fist. Yes! See, Salah? Told you I was good at riddles. Salah gaped. That was a lucky guess. Luck is just skill I haven't admitted yet, Ethan said smugly. Together they approached the chest. Ethan pushed it open, and inside was not gold nor jewels, but a single crystal sphere, glowing faintly with inner light. Salah blinked. That's it? One rock? It's not a rock, Ethan said reverently. It's probably magical, definitely important, and it's ours. He lifted the sphere carefully, and for a moment, the whispers around them grew louder, like a chorus of unseen voices. The cavern itself seemed to sigh. Salah shivered. I have a bad feeling about this. Ethan's grin widened, which means we're on the right track.
The cavern's golden glow dimmed as Ethan tucked the crystal sphere into his satchel. For a moment, all was quiet, too quiet. Then, a faint humming filled the chamber, like dozens of voices whispering at once. Salah glanced nervously at the walls. Ethan, why do I feel like we just set off an alarm? Ethan tried to look confident. Because your imagination is overactive? As if on cue, the ground trembled. Dust rained from the stalactites above. The runes on the stone archway flickered, then went dark. Salah groaned. That's not my imagination. That's physics trying to kill us. Then let's not stick around for the encore. Ethan grabbed his friend's arm and sprinted toward the portal. They leapt through just as the cavern shook violently. On the other side, they stumbled back onto the jungle floor. The portal behind them flickered, then collapsed in a shower of sparks. The clearing grew eerily silent.
the trees leaning as if listening. Ethan dusted himself off, grinning despite the chaos. Well, that went great. Treasure secured, no permanent injuries. I'd call that a win. Sala stared at him in disbelief. We almost got buried alive, and you call that a win? An adventure win, yes, totally different category. Sala pinched the bridge of his nose. Remind me again why I came with you? Because you love me, Ethan said cheerfully, and because deep down you crave excitement. Sala muttered something about craving a nap instead, but followed anyway. They trekked back to the beach where the sea breeze was anchored. Captain Mara lounged on the deck, sharpening a knife. When she saw the satchel, her eyebrows shot up. You found something already? Ethan puffed up with pride. The treasure, or at least step one of it. He pulled out the crystal sphere, which pulsed faintly in his hand. Mara's eyes narrowed. That doesn't look like gold. Not yet, Ethan admitted. But trust me, this is important. Sala crossed his arms. Important in the sense of, we have no idea what it does and it's probably cursed? Ethan shot him a glare. Don't listen to him. He's just being scientifically cautious. Mara studied the sphere. I've heard sailors speak of such things. Whisper stones, they called them. Said they carry voices of the past, and sometimes the future. Sala's eyes widened. Voices? That explains the whispers we keep hearing. As if to confirm, the sphere glowed brighter, and faint words echoed in the air. Find the keys. Unlock the song. Only then shall the treasure awaken. Ethan's jaw dropped. See? It talks! A magical talking rock! Sala rubbed his temples. This just keeps getting worse. Mara leaned against the mast, unimpressed. If that stone's right, you're not done yet, which means more trouble. And trouble costs extra. Ethan grinned. You'll get your payment. In fact, you'll be famous when we uncover the greatest treasure in history. Mara snorted. I'll settle for being alive. Over the next few days, they explored more of the Whispering Isles. The sphere served as a guide, glowing faintly when they approached certain landmarks. Ethan treated it like a compass. Sala treated it like a time bomb. At one point, while crossing a rope bridge over a waterfall, the whispers suddenly grew louder. Ethan leaned over the side to peer at the rushing water below. Ethan, don't do anything stupid. I'm not doing anything. Wow! The plank beneath Ethan snapped, and he dangled over the roaring chasm, clutching the ropes. Sala screamed, I told you! Why don't you ever listen to me? Less scolding, more rescuing. With a sigh that sounded suspiciously like, I hate my life, Sala pulled him back up. Ethan collapsed on the bridge, panting. See? Totally fine. I had it under control. Sala glared. You were one sneeze away from becoming fish food. Details. The next key lay hidden within a grove of trees whose trunks shimmered like silver. In the center stood a stone altar carved with spirals. The whispers rose again, forming another riddle. I speak without a mouth. I hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with wind. What am I? Ethan squinted. A tricky one. Sala adjusted his glasses. Not that tricky. It's an echo. The altar glowed, and with a deep rumble, a second crystal, smaller but equally luminous, rose from the stone. Ethan whooped. Teamwork! See, Sala, you're a natural treasure hunter. Sala flushed. I just read a lot of books. Exactly. You're the brains, I'm the charm. Unstoppable combo.
Sala muttered, more like brains and reckless chaos. They carried the new crystal back to camp, where Mara shook her head. 2 keys down. How many more to go? Before Ethan could answer, the first sphere pulsed again, whispering, The third lies where the sea meets the sky, guarded by laughter and lies. Ethan gasped. That sounds poetic and ominous and amazing. Sayla groaned. That sounds like we're going to be mocked by seagulls again. The clue led them to the highest peak on the island chain. The climb was grueling, filled with slips, stumbles, and more than one moment where Sayla seriously considered pushing Ethan off a ledge just for peace and quiet. At the summit, they found a shimmering pool reflecting the sky above. As they approached, the water rippled, and two figures emerged, exact copies of Ethan and Sayla. Ethan blinked. Wow! Handsome devils! The doppelgangers grinned mischievously. We are your reflections. Answer us this. What do you seek, and why? Ethan puffed out his chest. Treasure, obviously, to prove that adventure is real. His double laughed. A shallow dream. Do you even know what the treasure truly is? Sayla frowned. Knowledge, he said quietly. The treasure is knowledge. To learn from the past, to understand the voices of this place. His reflection smiled approvingly. The pool glowed, and from its depths rose the third crystal. Ethan gaped. Wait, how come your answer worked? Mine was great. Because mine made sense, Sayla said smugly. Ethan pouted. I feel personally attacked by magic water. With 3 crystals in hand, the sphere blazed with light. The voices harmonized into a song, guiding them toward the largest isle in the chain. Mara steered the sea breeze through twisting reefs and hidden channels until they reached a towering cliff face carved with runes. The runes pulsed as the crystals glowed. A hidden passage opened, revealing a tunnel leading into the heart of the island. Ethan's eyes sparkled. This is it! The real treasure! Sayla's stomach churned. This is where everything goes horribly wrong. Mara just muttered, This better be worth it. Together, they stepped into the darkness. Inside, the walls shimmered with faint light, like the veins of the earth glowed from within. The whispers grew clearer, forming words they could almost understand. Ethan whispered back, Hello? Anyone there? The whispers answered with laughter, gentle, musical, but also slightly mocking. Sayla shivered. At the end of the tunnel, they entered a vast chamber. In its center floated a pedestal of stone, suspended above a pool of shimmering water. On the pedestal rested a final crystal, larger than the others, glowing like a captured star. Ethan's jaw dropped. That's it! That's the last key! But before he could dash forward, the laughter returned. From the shadows emerged dozens of small glowing creatures, like fireflies with mischievous faces. They darted around Ethan and Sayla, tugging at their clothes, giggling wildly. Sayla swatted at one. Great! Magic pranksters! My favorite! Ethan laughed. They're adorable! Look, this one's trying to braid my hair! The creatures zipped together, forming shapes, arrows pointing, words half-formed in light. One spelled out, Prove your worth. Sayla groaned. Another challenge. Ethan grinned. Perfect. I love challenges. The pranksters swirled around them, then darted toward the pool. In the water's reflection appeared images, moments from their journey. Ethan dangling from the bridge, Sayla solving the riddles, Mara rolling her eyes. The whisper spoke, Only when heart and mind unite shall the treasure awaken. Ethan blinked. Heart and mind. That's us. I'm the heart, you're the mind. Sayla muttered, I'd prefer logic, but fine. Together, they stepped onto the pedestal. Sayla placed the 3 smaller crystals into carved slots, while Ethan placed his hand on the glowing sphere. Light flared, and the chamber shook. The water rose into shimmering shapes, maps, stars, ancient writings, dancing around them. The final crystal pulsed, and the whispers formed a single clear sentence. Bring us together, and the path will open. Ethan and Sayla exchanged a look. Sayla sighed. Here goes nothing. He placed his hand beside Ethan's,
The crystals merged, glowing brighter until the entire chamber was bathed in light. When it faded, the pedestal was gone. In its place stood a golden doorway, shimmering with promise. Ethan's eyes shone. "The treasure awaits!" Sayla adjusted his glasses nervously. And so does Disaster. Still, side by side, they stepped toward the doorway, ready to discover what lay beyond.
The golden doorway shimmered like sunlight on water. Ethan couldn't resist touching it, his fingers tingling as ripples spread across its surface. He looked at Sala with a grin that was half excitement, half mischief. Well, no turning back now. Sala adjusted his glasses nervously. We never had a turning back, Ethan. We've been tumbling forward since the day you bought that coffee-stained map. Exactly, Ethan beamed. Destiny calls. Before Sala could argue, Ethan stepped through the doorway. Sala sighed, muttering, "One of these days I'll learn to just let him go and write a book about it instead." Then he followed. On the other side was not a cavern or a chamber, but an entire world. They stood on a stone platform floating in the middle of a vast starry expanse. Constellations swirled above like living murals, and below stretched an endless ocean reflecting the sky. Sala's jaw dropped. This is impossible. Ethan spun in a circle, arms wide. And yet, here we are. Isn't it beautiful? The platform extended into a staircase of light leading toward a massive crystalline structure at the horizon. It shimmered with every color imaginable, a palace carved from pure starlight. "The treasure," Ethan whispered. As they walked, glowing orbs floated alongside, each carrying faint whispers. Some spoke of voyages long past, others of discoveries yet to come. Sala leaned closer to one, and it whispered in his ear, "Knowledge is a map without end." He shivered. "Ethan, I think these are memories, not ours, everyone's. Like the island has been collecting them for centuries." Ethan tapped one orb. "Do they have memories of me being right about stuff? Because that'd be great proof." The orb blinked out with a pop, as if insulted. Sala chuckled despite himself. At last, they reached the crystalline palace. The doors swung open with a sound like chimes, revealing a vast hall. In the center hovered a great pedestal, and on it rested a book. Not an ordinary one, but enormous, its pages glowing with golden script. Ethan's eyes sparkled. "The treasure is a book?" Sala's breath caught. "Not just any book. This is the Chronicle of Whispers. Legends say it records all wisdom, all stories, everything known and forgotten." Ethan frowned. "So no piles of gold?" Sala smirked. "Knowledge is more valuable than gold. Try buying snacks with it," Ethan muttered. But even he couldn't deny the awe radiating from the book. As they approached, the book's pages fluttered, and a voice filled the hall. "Seekers, you have proven heart and mind. The treasure of the Isles is yours to guard. Will you accept this burden?" Ethan glanced at Sala. "Burden?" Sala's brow furrowed. Knowledge can be dangerous if misused. Maybe that's why the Isles hid it away. The voice continued. "To claim the Chronicle is to become its keeper. Its wisdom will flow into you, and you must decide what to share with the world." Ethan's grin faltered. "That sounds huge." Sala adjusted his glasses. "It is huge. This could change everything. History, science, art. But misuse it, and it's a disaster," Ethan finished. For once, he looked serious. They stood in silence. Then Ethan chuckled softly. "Well, Sala, you're the brain. What do we do?" Sala hesitated. I think the world deserves to learn, but not at all at once. Knowledge should be shared carefully, with responsibility. Yeah. Plus, if we tell people everything, who's going to read our adventure memoir?" Oh, groan. "Trust you to find the selfish angle."
They placed their hands on the book together. Light burst forth, swirling around them. The Chronicle's pages dissolved into golden streams that flowed into their minds.
Images flashed, ancient civilizations building wonders, explorers charting stars, laughter of children from forgotten villages, songs sung by sailors who never returned. Ethan gasped. It's beautiful, like a million stories all at once. Salah's eyes shone with tears, and it's ours to remember. The light faded, the book was gone, but the knowledge remained within them. The palace trembled, and the voice spoke one last time. Guard the chronicle well, share its wisdom wisely. Your journey is only beginning. The starry world dissolved, and they found themselves back in the jungle clearing where their adventure had started. The stone archway was gone, replaced by quiet trees swaying in the breeze. Mara stood by the sea breeze, arms crossed. Well, did you find your treasure? Ethan and Salah exchanged a glance. Then Ethan grinned. We found stories, Salah added softly, and responsibilities. Mara raised an eyebrow. Stories don't pay docking fees. Maybe not, Ethan said, pulling out his notebook now glowing faintly with golden script. But they'll make a bestseller. Over the following weeks, Ethan and Salah sailed back towards civilization. Ethan spent most of the voyage dramatizing their adventures, acting out scenes with wildly exaggerated flair. Salah diligently wrote down what they had seen, carefully balancing Ethan's exaggerations with accuracy. At one point, Ethan leapt onto a barrel, declaring, "And then I heroically saved us from a 1,000-foot drop." Salah interrupted. "It was 5 feet, and you screamed like a goat." "Artistic license," Ethan protested. Even Mara laughed at that. When they finally returned to the harbor, people gathered to hear their tales. Ethan spun stories of riddles, glowing creatures, and magical pranksters. Salah quietly filled in the real details, adding thoughtful insights about the wisdom they had gained. The townsfolk listened, wide-eyed. Some laughed, some gasped, all enthralled. And though Ethan secretly still wished for a pile of shiny gold, seeing the joy in people's faces made him realize this was treasure enough. That night, as they sat on the docks watching the sunset, Salah leaned back and sighed. "You know, Ethan, maybe you were right. This adventure, it was worth it." Ethan grinned. "Of course it was. I'm always right." Salah smirked. "Except about the seagulls. Hey, those seagulls were plotting something, I swear." They laughed until the stars came out, the whispers of the isles fading into memory. But deep within, the chronicle's wisdom glowed, waiting for the day the world was ready. Epilogue. Months later, Ethan and Salah stood in a small bookshop, proudly holding a freshly printed copy of The Treasure of the Whispering Isles, an absolutely accurate account by Ethan, with some help from Salah. Salah groaned at the subtitle. "Absolutely accurate, really?" Ethan winked. "Truth is flexible when it sells." The shopkeeper chuckled as curious readers crowded around, and as the first book was sold, Ethan whispered, "See, told you stories could buy snacks?" Salah just shook his head, smiling. Their adventure was over, for now, but the Chronicle of Whispers remained with them, and somewhere out on the horizon, new mysteries awaited. Because for Ethan and Salah, 20 years old and endlessly curious, the greatest treasure was not what they found, but the adventures still to come.
Okay, thanks everyone for watching and like and subscribe support me. Okay, thank you. Let's go. Come on, yeah. Okay. Thanks everyone for watching and like and subscribe support me. Okay. Goodbye.